Welcome to Lesson 5 in Unit 3, Make It Go. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how can we make our Galimotos move in different ways? In this lesson, students revisit the engineering design cycle and construct and test their Galimotos. Students figure out how the design of a Galimoto toy allows it to be pushed, pulled, and change speed and direction. Students make connections to the storyline by applying what they have learned about forces and motion to design, create, and test their Galimotos. There are several opportunities for ELA cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 3 Teacher Guide. This lesson will take approximately 6 to 7 days to complete. To begin the Engage portion, you'll show the engineering design cycle and remind students of their progress towards solving the problem. You'll have students review the models they drew on their Galimoto Brainstorm student journal page in Lesson 4 and have them pair share to discuss their ideas. You'll revisit the driving question board and add any new questions and highlight others connected to the learning goals of this lesson by calling attention to questions about how we can make a Galimoto that moves in different ways. For the Explore portion, after students have decided on their designs, you'll provide each team with the materials to build their Galimotos. Explain that a prototype is the first design of something. You can post and discuss the prototype vocabulary card as you get started with the activity. Be sure to see the teacher tutorial slides for this activity for the material and setup information. You'll revisit the Galimoto Design Rubric student journal page and remind students that this is what they will use to evaluate their designs. For the Explain portion, students will test and evaluate their prototypes. You'll take student ideas and allow for initial student tests. You'll have students demonstrate a push, pull, changing speed, and changing direction with their Galimotos. Students should use qualitative measurement words to describe the movements. For the Elaborate portion, you'll explain to students that engineers communicate their results after they test and evaluate their designs. You'll have students complete the Galimoto Presentation student journal page to communicate their results. You'll ask students to share their designs and how they performed during the tests and challenge. For the Evaluate portion, you'll discuss the Galimoto designs with the class. You'll ask students how they were able to use science knowledge to create a Galimoto toy like Condi. You'll have students reference the Galimoto Design Rubric student journal page to self-evaluate their Galimoto designs. You'll use the Summative Performance Task rubric to assess students' Galimotos. To support student sense-making across the unit, you'll orient them back to the driving question board. You'll ask, did we answer any of the questions on our driving question board? And are there any questions we haven't answered? Try to wrap up any final questions on the driving question board before the end of the unit. You can have students use the self-check form to evaluate their own learning in this section. This is an instructional tool that can be used as a metacognitive practice for students to reflect on their learning, express their engagement and excitement levels for the topics they have learned so far. This tool will also allow students to reflect on their science identities and community. By the end of this lesson, students will have analyzed data from tests to compare how different Galimotos move when pushed or pulled, and explained how the design of their Galimoto allows it to move at different speeds and change directions. For the optional Extend, students can redesign their Galimotos. They can gather feedback from their peers or from the teacher to assist them in this part of the design cycle. They can draw their new design on their Galimoto Redesign student journal page and explain how and why they changed their design. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.